See, are you ready? Everybody, let's go. Working, working, working. See you. See you. I was saying in the morning, the evening, the night. See you. This is Family Radio Broadcasting from Pizza, Jamaica. We've got our technical glitch sorted out, so it seems that we're going to be having family time right away.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Family Time on Love 101. We do thank you. But problem solved, and we are here today. If you're just joining, you are listening to Family Time on Love 101, and we are live on Facebook and YouTube also. This is Family Time, your program for everyone. Now, Family Time is about your issues and your relationships. Whether it is your family abroad or abroad, Family Time is the program for you. Family Time is produced by the Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families which lead to a healthy nation. So, stay tuned and please connect with us via all our social media platforms. Find us on Facebook, make sure to friend us, and also on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, call your neighbor, call a friend, tell them Family Time is on. We are also on Instagram, so keep up with all that's happening and we will always keep you informed. While Family Time is happening just now, we will always need your participation. That's what we want you to do today. So tell everyone Family Time is on and be prepared to share. Now, today's topic is about hurt. A very familiar word. Short letters, just 4, but it goes much deeper and longer than that. So, today we are talking about hurt, whether it is hurt from yesterday, last week, last year, or years ago. We know that it is very important. People hurt, and there's a saying that goes, hurt people hurt even more. So, the cycle keeps repeating itself. Sometimes there are hurt upon hurt and it just keeps going on. It's time to stop that. We know, yes, it may be easier said than done, but we know that it can be done. So today we want to talk about healing from your hurt. That's the topic for today, healing from your hurt. Now, as usual, there is a lot to say and we want to hear from you. So be sure to send us your WhatsApp, text, or voice note. Please keep them 30 seconds or less and send them to 876-997-3125. If you're listening online, you're on any of our social media platform, please know that you can also send a message via our social media platform or connect with us live in studio by calling our studio numbers. Now, today we have a very special guest with us, and that is Carrie Heron. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The management and the staff of the Jamaica Customs Agency extend the very best wishes to you and your family for a safe, peaceful, and enjoyable holiday. Whether you're effecting clearance at the port, traveling to and from the airport, or undertaking other transactions, we urge you to travel safely, use good judgment, and stay within the speed limit. We thank you for your support throughout 2024 and look forward to a healthy, prosperous, and productive new year. Happy New Year! support from Jamaica Customs.
Are you a registered charity clearing charitable items during the holiday and in the new year? Here are some reminders from the Jamaica Customs Agency to assist you with your clearance. Ensure you have a valid copy of the Certificate of Registration from the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies, a letter of authorization if applicable, the signed special declaration, the bill of lading or airway bill, your packing list, your invoice or receipts, a valid tax compliance certificate, and the relevant permit and licenses where applicable. Also, ensure that shipments are consigned to the charity at the registered address and that donations for schools are consigned to the National Education Trust. For customs-related queries, you may contact Jamaica Customs at 876-922-5140-8 or email public.relations@jca.gov.jm. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101. And a very special welcome to all our listeners, wherever you're tuning in from today. Now, today we have a very special guest with us, and her name is Carrie Heron. She is a single mom of one. She's an entrepreneur, an ordained minister, multi-talented, right? Many hats. She thrives, and she has a podcast about just that. Her Thrive with Carrie. So it's Thrive with Carrie podcast, which is now available on YouTube. So you can check that out. Most importantly, for today, she has the experience that we will be talking about for today's topic, healing from hurt. And so she has first-hand experience, and she will be sharing with us today. Carrie, how are you?
I'm good. And you, Tamika?
I am excited now that you are here. It's a new year, a small topic, but many people may have it on their New Year's resolution. So I'm excited to get things started today.
It's always a great day to begin healing.
Absolutely. Today is a great day to begin. All right. So, to all our listeners, remember our question for today: what's the most important or what's the most hurtful thing that has happened to you? What's the most hurtful thing that has happened to you? Remember, you can share by WhatsApp, text, or voice notes. You can send your voice notes to 876-997-3125. Remember to keep them 30 seconds or less. Comment and share on our social media platforms as we delve into today's topic, healing from your hurt. Now, Carrie, I know that life has many hardships, and everyone has experienced hurt in some way or another. It may be from a heartbreak, it could be from an illness, injury, death, abandonment, grief. There are so many hurt from these events, and we want to see how best we can heal from them. Now, we know that everyone experiences these things different. It's personal, and all our personal experiences are different. And so we know not a one size fits all solution approach will help. But where do we really start? How do we know in the first place if we're experiencing hurt?
Well, these are very difficult questions, very existential questions. And yes, everybody at some point, if we're human, we've had some encounter with being hurt. Even as a baby, mama didn't pick me up on time. You know, I don't feel mama's gone for too long, so I had to feed with a bottle instead of her bosom. But the most important thing is to realize that there are processes, and healing is a journey. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a switch that we switch on and off. And what it requires from us is a commitment to be able to be honest and to also seek a multiple prong approach in terms of how to find homeostasis again, to find balance, to find or equicenter, to become thermostats rather than just going up and down with the temperature. You bring our emotions and all those things back into reset. In a nutshell.
Yeah, so we have to be honest with ourselves. We're human. The experience is not going to be for us alone. We're not alone in it. So step back, take a look, face reality, and process. So once we get that done, are there different types of hurt? Because it reminds me to the saying that we grow up and hear, sticks and stone may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Can words hurt? Are there different types of hurt?
There are different types of, but the thing is, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to go into all of those things in depth, but I do want to mention that that whole sticks and stones thing is not true, and it actually has caused many of us to put up with emotional trauma, psychological, emotional abuse for longer than we should, because we have not even identified it as being something that is detrimental and not good for us. So you can have hurt from, there's pain that is felt in the body, physical pain, and then there's psychological pain, emotional pain, all of those things. But I want to tell you as well that emotional pain can also bleed into the physical pain. So sometimes when you have not processed your emotional pain well enough, or it can actually manifest as physical pain. So you might have pains in your neck, pains in your body, chronic pain. So a lot of people who have been exposed to abusive situations for a long time, sometimes you are exposed to situations where you're not necessarily knowledgeable of what it is that you're going through, but the body knows and the body keeps the score. There's actually a book that's called Just That, The Body Keeps the Score, by this Dutch psychologist, an award-winning one. It's a really, really, really powerful book. And what happens is that you can feel the pain physically manifesting in your muscles, in your joints, and it can actually cause chronic illness over time if not dealt with. So there is an association between emotional pain and physical pain, even though they're different. And the thing is, there are different modalities. There are different ways to approach it. I remember when I had my pain manifested as pain in the neck. And so I was in the hospital at one point for like every week, getting all sorts of pain medications. Wow. A pain specialist, as I said, a neurologist, saw a chiropractor, a whole bunch of different things. So yes, I did have this thing called what do you call it? It's spondylosis.
Oh, okay.
And it was caused by stress. So I had this is in Dubai, and I had this pain management consultant, very, very senior doctor. And he was heading up this unit, and he said to me, and I thought it was quite, cheeky. He's like, what, you're a lady, you have why don't you just stay home and take care of the family? Too much stress. I'm like, what is this?
Why me?
Yes, because what happens as well is that, and it's like a cycle and a circle. So if the pain makes you also get anxious because you're feeling pain, your body tightens up. When your body tightens up, the muscles also makes it more painful, causing the muscle spasms cause pain. And then when that pain happens, then you tighten up some more. When you tighten up, you feel more pain. And so it's just this loop.
Keeps going.
A loop that keeps on going. So you really have to find something to come off. And medication is not going to be something that's going to help.
It's just a temporal fix. So we need to go for the permanent solution and get to the foundation of what's the root cause. Yeah, absolutely. But you said something when you mentioned about in the body. I know we are always hearing the body, the mind, and the soul. And I'm thinking it's really all connected, because we do hear doctors say that as well. When it comes to our physical body, a good way to manage our physical state is to manage our emotional or our mental state as well. So they'll tell persons, try to reduce your stress level, not to worry too much. Persons who suffer from different diseases, those who particularly maybe have autoimmune disease as well, you'll hear doctors say that. So we know there is a direct association with how the body produces pain and everything that it does, and or state of mind. So a good state of mind and well-being and getting over hurt will help our bodies, right?
I'm happy you brought up the autoimmune diseases because that's the body reacting against itself. And chronic pain over time, emotional pain as well, can trigger autoimmune diseases. Some things like fibromyalgia, people have not, doctors are still kind of unsure about what started it and so on. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to get into all of those things, but there is like a questionable association between pain and things like autoimmune diseases, as well as metabolic diseases like cancer, diabetes, hypertension, definitely hypertension. And we actually feel like hypertension is just something that runs in the blood or in the family. A lot of it is also circumstantial. A lot of it has to do with also not learning how to manage things like those things you just mentioned, the self-care situation, as well as sometimes you're just in a situation where you just got to get out. If you're a hamster in a wheel and the wheel keeps on spinning, right? How do you stop that hamster wheel? How do you stop? You just have to get out. You just have to stop, right? So there's no way to fix it while it's still spinning. You have to remove yourself from the situation.
All right. So Carrie, I want you to share some more with us if you can. Your hurt that you've experienced, so we can all bring it into context and tell us perhaps what the steps that you now mentioned. Are those some of the steps you take? How did you get to identify that you were hurting? Were you able to pinpoint to find the root cause or the foundation of what you were hurting from, and then perhaps take us through what are some next steps that persons can do?
Before I answer that question, I wanted to say though that suffering is part of our human existence, and that's also part of what the Bible talks about. I'm sure you're going to get into that deeply later on as well. And so everything is a process, and as you know, the more you unravel, it's like a layer of an onion. You just peel it back layer by layer, one by one. So it is essentially my pain climaxed with my divorce. So all of this led up into a divorce. And even post-divorce, it also has been particularly painful because of the particular set of circumstances that I've been dealing with. And the truth of the matter is that I had to stop and pray. And I prayed a lot. I fasted and I prayed and 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 I fasted and I prayed. And eventually it took another leader from South Africa to say a particular prayer. And once he made that prayer, then boom, things started to clear. And I felt free in the spirit. Because also, even with pain, if you can be in a traumatic situation and there's a bond in the trauma, and because there's a bond in the trauma, you call it trauma bonding, then it's hard to separate yourself in that situation because it's a psychological as well as spiritual bond. So those things have got to be severed. And that took time, that took processes. And divorce is like death. People don't talk about it. I didn't want to be divorced. I got married to stay married. And it's not something that I'm ashamed to talk about. I was absolutely committed to my vows. I meant them. They meant something to me. I believe, even though I was not walking with God the way that I should have been walking with God, it was quite loose, very loose. Like, we know each other, but we don't hang kind of situation, to be fair and to be honest, at the time. So even though I honored my vows. And because I honored my vows, I actually was trying to work through the situation because life is hard.
It
People have
is.
gone through hard things. And I wanted to feel like if I were going through hard things, then I would actually have a spouse who would be willing to stand by me with all of those things. So I wanted to give what I wanted to receive and all
Mm.
of those things. But at some point I couldn't. God had to separate me from that situation. And even in his doing that, it still was quite painful because
Things
when
didn't go as we planned. It's not what we initially wanted.
not only that, because two in marriage, two become one.
Um,
Two become one flesh. And even if you're not married, even in just in terms of having sex without marriage, you still end up having that same sort of tie in the spirit as well. But in marriage, and invested 10 years as well, 10 good years of my life, my best thing out of marriage is that one son we talked about earlier. So having gone through all of these things, 10 years in this thing, tight like this, you end up becoming one in the spirit. And so when you break things that have been glued together, the movie, I think it's Fireproof.
the separation cannot.
Separation cannot be even, cannot be,
Yeah, it
it's
can.
gonna be messy.
Yeah, if something is whole and gets broken, then there's something that some repair will need to take place. So, on that point, I want, if all our listeners, if you are just tuning in, we are talking about hurt today. And today's question is, what's the most hurtful thing that has happened to you? We have Carrie sharing her experience with us just now. So stay tuned. We will continue that on the next side. So, what do we want from you? Share with us freely. We know it's a new year, it is 2025, and so many of us have resolutions to make changes. Perhaps getting past hurt is one of them for you. And so we ask you to share with us by text or voice note via WhatsApp. And you can send your voice notes to 876-997-3125. Remember to keep them 30 seconds or less. We want you to remember that you can get in touch with the Family Life Ministries at their head office in Kingston, and you can call them at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Carrie.
Hurt comes from ill spoken words or attitudes driven by anger, ignorance, or downright bad mind. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words cannot hurt me, is a British expression that is alive from the pit of hell. For those who don't watch your words, I remind you of Ephesians 4. Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. The first hurt that I can remember is when a parent said to me, "You must be adopted." Then, like most teenagers, I experienced hurt when someone I thought I loved rejected me for another. Then, like some pastors, I have experienced the hurt that comes from persons trying to destroy me and bring me to my knees, which really is the best place for a pastor to be. Then, like some married persons, I have felt the hurt of spousal punishment. At the time of each hurt happening, it was extremely painful, but I am here to tell you that you can get victory over your hurt. Psalm 55, cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. Psalm 34, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 147, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Want to stop hurting? Let go and let God. Let go of your hurt. Forgive those who have hurt you, and God will take care of the rest, healing your pain and even exacting vengeance where needed. I'm Reverend Mike from Fellowship Tabernacle, and we just had a WTF moment.
The time by Grace Good Move is
The time is now 6:03 p.m.
We've seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together, because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move. Always a good move when you're moving with Grace. Why your love was so strong. Contagious Worship in Christ production presents Release, the ultimate gospel concert under the theme Release to be Restored. Friday, April 9 at Police Officers Club at 34 Hope Road, Kingston 10. Start time 7 p.m. Featuring Lord Dance Ministry, Praise Academy of Dance, Sean Ennis, Amanda Marshall, Rycar Williams, Orville Sutherland, Prince Saj, and many more. Music by DJ Raymer. Tickets available at SpurOpen.com. That's SPURR.com/release. It's the ultimate worship experience of the decade. Release to be restored. Be there.
Welcome back. We are talking about healing from your hurt. This is Family Time on Love 101 FM. And we want you to share with us what's the most hurtful thing that has happened to you. Our special guest today is Carrie Heron, and we want to find out, are you bringing your hurts from 2024 into this new year? How many years have you been doing that for? I don't think that may be working best for you. Carrie just shared it can affect all parts of us, body included. So for 2025, let's discuss how we can heal from our past hurt. Carrie, just before Rev Mike Words to Flesh moment, you were sharing with us about the 10 years and just the process of hurt that you were going through, having to be separated.
Right. So, it took a while to get to where I needed to get to. And once I did, once things came to a head, they did. And what I have done since, because I don't want to dwell on that process, because that's what I realized that we also do a lot. One of the mistakes that we make is we tend to ruminate and to stay stuck in that hurt, just stay stuck in that pain. So once it came to a head, it did. Am I still feeling okay?
Yes.
So I just literally got to a place when this thing happened, I got really, really more quiet and decided that I was going to tackle something spiritually. I wanted to get to the root of everything, what it was that would have led me to the decisions that I made in order that resulted in the situation that I faced myself in. And one of those things was really taking accountability, not putting all the blame on the other parties, but to take accountability. I've also been hurt in family relationships, hurt in friendships, best friend situation, people doing things, saying things, best friend betraying, all of those things. And I had to learn, and the divorce was a gift in that way, as painful as it was, because I took the time. Therapy, deep diving, did all the deliverance, deep spiritual work as well. So you have to approach this thing on multiple platforms, multiple ways. And so I had to go through and realize what it is. What were the things that I learned that were not serving me well? What are the things that I picked up? What are the things my own behaviors? How can I learn from this? What is it that made me attracted to, and what is it that made me attractive to? So because listen, you can jump back right on and repeat the same. A lot of people end up moving on very quickly and end up in that cycle again. So the same problem.
So the lessons need to be learned from the situation. So you process what attracted me to this situation and what made this situation attractive to me. So you don't want to be in a loop where you're doing the same things, but you're expecting a different result. And so it comes with identification and what are some of the things I can change going forward. Yeah, though that I believe that's it's not easy. It's not easy as you say, but it's a step that has to be done to bring us to the next phase.
And especially when it comes on to the things like relational things, where especially interpersonal man and woman relationships, too many people go on too quickly. So I have not been dating, not because I'm not healed. I'm in a position where I'm not healed. And but I decided that I was going to spend the time. I have a young child. There are other things to deal with. And what has happened is that it has removed any bit of desperation that I would have had that could have come up normally. And I've had to have a really sacred and intimate relationship with God as a result. So my maker is now my husband. And the thing is that it also gave me more time. Now there's a level of healing that will also come if I ever get remarried again. That's another level of healing that will come in that relationship. But until then, it's good to be able to be alone, to find company. If you can't stand yourself, then how can anybody else? Deal with the situations, deal with all the rejection, all the pain, all the betrayal, whatever it is that you're coming up against. Deal with all of those things. Identify the problems, the triggers, heal from those things, purge. And then the person who I am now, is a lot different from the person I was when I got married 15 years ago. And the person I am now would not have made the decisions at that I would have made at 15 years prior. Why? Because I have evolved, not just in age, but I have grown because I've spent that time.
And I just want to pause to congratulate you for that, and just to share that I am tremendously happy that's where you are in your journey. I know the journey starts in small steps, and we are at different stages of our respective journey. Same for our listeners. You may be at the phase where you're still processing, you're identifying your hurt, you are maybe at the self introspection stage, separating yourself from repeating those acts. But wherever you are, we want to say that it starts with one step. And so, Carrie, I'm tremendously happy about that for you. Carrie, the fact that you are at that stage, I want to ask, as it relates to healing, once someone is hurt, can we be totally healed? Do you think we can be totally healed?
We are going from grace to grace. And the thing is, we all have hurt. So it's not as if it's one person is different from another. We probably are hurt in different situations, and we have different things. We're all coming through, even our childhoods. There's no such thing as a perfect family. We all have levels of dysfunction. We were born and shaped in iniquity, and that also comes out with psychological.
With our mothers and fathers.
Hello. So make una try galang, like say, you know what I mean? So the fact of the matter is, as I said to you, at different stages we grow. So if I were to get into a marriage again, then that marriage would also, there's another level of healing that comes in the marriage, because then that I'd be a new person again in a marriage. How am I going to interact in this marriage? And there are parts of the healing that you'll go through on your own, and there are parts of healing that will go through in another relationship. However, here's what I said to my Abba father. I said, clearly I don't know how to make great choices. And so because I clearly don't know how to make clear choices for me, and you know me better than anybody else, why don't I give you the choice to make me a help most suitable for the one that you get to select your perfect will for me. And if it is you, if I find it, fine. But guess what? If I don't, I'm still absolutely fine. If I live is Christ, if I die is gain. And that's the place that we need to be. God is my matchmaker. And if we approach relationships like that in the first place, then we would lessen the need to get healing from the hurt in the first place. Because many of the times we tend to look at things we like, this flavor, oh, not nighttime, oh, that one.
Absolutely. That was a big step. It is a big step. Of course, sometimes we know someone has the opportunity to help and to guide us into better choices, but the better choices may not so much go with my taste. I
We don't like
mean,
that flavor. That is too vanilla. We like hotness. We like this. We
I
like
like I like Cheesecake Factory, with a little bit of this and a little splash of that. So that's a big step. That is a big step, but
to
through
surrender
it,
that. To
yeah,
surrender, but understand that once we even yield that, because he says that he gives us the desires of our hearts, so that even if we yield that to him, he turns us into what it is that he's also mindful of what we also desire as well. Like he's not just some really mean guy who's just like, well, I told you no, you never answer, so you're not real. You're gonna stay with that for the rest of your life. No, he's not that.
yeah,
Um,
you had a truth moment, but the difference is we have to decide our position and response. And obedience, I believe, look, I don't know who we're going to blame. Some say Adam, some say Eve. But you said it before, we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. And so, guess what? It's not an easy decision to always be obedient. Or listeners, you are hearing the experience of Carrie, and we have been sharing on hurt. You are still tuned to Family Time on Love 101. And as we go into the final break, we want you to process, we want you to share, we want you to join with us. Let us know, what's the most hurtful thing that has happened to you. Send your voice note, text to WhatsApp. You can send to 876-997-3125 to our listeners, Alvarine, you Smalling, and Roel. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Continue, call a friend, tell a friend, let them know family time is still happening. We have some time to go. And continue to watch us on our social media platforms on Facebook and Love 101 FM. We'll be back soon.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Okay, where are the campus nights? Students are strap up in a pride.
It's a new year and time for a fresh start on Campus Connection. The new year presents the opportunity to birth ideas, dreams, and visions. Individuals can reflect on past failures and make adjustments for greater execution in the future. You can overcome anxieties and move ahead with much enthusiasm. We will begin the season's journey with Miss Deshauna N. Mullings, Social Development Practitioner, and Creative Block guest, Mr. Orlando Scaife, Digital Creator, on Tuesday, January 7th at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station. Love 101. Campus Connection is brought to you by Heart NSDA Trust. Skill is power. And TGI Fridays at TGIF. Every day is Friday. That's Campus Connection, Tuesday, January 7th at 5:30 p.m. only on the Family Station. Love 101.
Welcome back to Family Time. It is now 6:17 p.m. And yes, you are tuned to Love 101. This is Family Time. It's your program brought to you by the Family Life Ministries. Family Life Ministries provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Remember, you can tune into our program via Love 101's Facebook and YouTube page also. Today's topic is healing from your hurt. And our special guest is Carrie Heron. Carrie, back to you.
Yes, so the thing is that we want to also be willing to and be very, very keen on forgiving. One of the major ways of actually healing is to forgive. And it's not always easy to forgive in certain circumstances, and especially if the circumstances are ongoing, because you can remove yourself from a situation, but the dysfunction and the trauma associated with the persons that are causing or a major part of the contributing factor to the situation, that still exists, and you still have to interface with them. So you have to put up boundaries. That's the second thing. But even having put up the boundaries, you still may actually be having to interface with the persons what behind the boundary, and they might also still want to continually inflict, not necessarily because they want to, but because they are, as you said earlier, Tavika, hurt people hurt people. So when people are continually hurt themselves, they don't understand that they're just bleeding everywhere. And so what you have to do in that situation is to really pray. And one of the things I want to really advise you to do, if you're listening and you're going through this, is to pray and ask God to help you to forgive and be honest about it. Lord, help me to forgive this person fully. And I release this person fully in the freedom of my forgiveness. And you start praying and interceding for people, for that person or the persons or the situation, because you cannot hold contempt and bitterness for people you're praying for. It's impossible. You cannot. So the way to deal with the way to forgive is to intercede for the person. No, again, that does not mean that if it's a situation that is dire to you that you're going to step back there, as you still have to have those boundaries. So you pray from a distance and all of those things. That don't mean to say you're going to go back into some situation. Like, for example, if you're in a domestic violence situation, you're going to go back because the man tell you, say, I'm sorry again. I mean, that lady, this is 365.9 times that him ball blood and tears until he say he's sorry and he ain't gonna do it again. How many times you're going to realize that it's never going to work? And you can't, what he says, he may say it, but he has just not done the work to process it. People can heal, but he has not been healed in the 24 hours that he eat the ice cream and apologize. No, it's the same cycle that you're going to go back into.
Yeah.
So you have to put the distance.
We have to. I got so much from what you just shared. We have to. We have to be real. And I heard you say prayer. Pray for God's wisdom, and also pray for strength to perhaps make some of the hard decisions that one has to make. Look, you've said this the last time and the time before and the 10 times before that. So the cycle isn't going to change if I keep doing the same thing. So today is a good day to start. Today, make a different choice. So I got that. And you mentioned as well forgiveness. That is an absolutely big one. We hear that word so many times. To forgive as Christ forgave. I know that it is not as easy. You know, we say it sometimes, it seems as if it's a small word, but it goes so very deep. But we need to really seek to forgive. If it is, we maybe need to get persons, we need to seek help. You mentioned when you were sharing earlier that you had to see a doctor at one point. I think you said a pain, was it a pain or a trauma specialist?
Pain management specialist, because I was having pains. I mean, the whole unraveling started with physical pain and all of these things, and then eventually years later, it ended up wound up in divorce and a post period. But yes,
So sometimes we have to seek help. So we're gonna pray, we're gonna give, we sometimes have to. Therapy, yeah, we have to. So I know it may look it, it may be different forms for persons, but the fact is no man, what we say, no man is an island, no man stands alone. And so persons need to know when they're hurt, you don't have to, because we carry it so personal. We carry it so close to heart, but it does help when we share and we seek help. That source may be different for each person, but definitely. And you mentioned, God's plan for us is better than the plan that we have for ourselves. So when you say, Lord, look, I'm not good with this, I hand this over to you. We have to trust the plan of God and trust the process, even though we can't see the end from the beginning. Yeah.
And suffering is part of the cup that we have to drink in this life. And through suffering, we can have deep spiritual awakenings. As this ended up being the biggest spiritual lesson and enrichment in my entire life. So even in the pain, God uses that mess to turn it into a message. He uses all of the things that once we process it and we allow Him to do the work that He needs to do, He will use whatever. But if we allow Him to be in there, because listen, there is no pain that Jesus does not feel.
Yeah.
We have this idea. I want to mention that we have this idea of strong women, and we're strong Black women, and we cannot really and we carry it like a badge of honor, and we are strong. I am a very strong woman. I have no doubt about that. I've gone through a lot, done a lot, lived in 5 countries, 2 hemispheres. I've seen a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I'm also still human. And we need to be able to be vulnerable, to be honest. And this is why people run away and lose their minds, because we do not create spaces for people to process things. And one of the things I talk about I talk about these things in my podcast, Thrive with Carrie. And one of the things that I mentioned in the last season was, can we normalize therapy? Can we normalize counseling? Can we normalize talking to people about your problem, like professionals, not just a friend who don't have no sense from nothing and got to the bad advice? No, you need to do this and you need to do that. No.
I know that's changing. It's not so popular in our cultural space, and we know the history of everything that we've been through as a people, and the mentality, and so we think that we have to be strong for everything, and also we have to bear the burdens on our own. So I know that has been changing, and I mean, a program like this program, we are Family Time. Family Time is sponsored by the Family Life Ministries. And so it does help to get to counselors, to have that therapy, to reach out and to connect. I know it's not so popular, but I hope that we'll get there and even cross greater milestones in 2020.
You know why it's important, Tamika? It's important to reach out and talk to professionals, because we just have not been given the tools. Our parents didn't have them, so how could we end up with them? Where would we have inherited them from? A lot of the problems that people face, the interpersonal difficulties, we have not been given the toolkits, nor the tools themselves, to be able to deal with the problem properly. And so we kind of cherry pick and we sweep things under. That's why the pain start to mass up in the body and whatever, not because we're trying to pacify and here's one of the very Jamaican things that we do. For a peaceful life. For a peaceful life. And we pacify everything for a peaceful life. Never and I mean, like, you need to confront things with big and bad loudness. But certainly being able to have the tools, the language even to articulate, to be able to say, a man may say, well, this woman is dominating or domineering. Is she domineering, or is it that you have just never learned to speak up for yourself? And as a result of that, now because she's able to speak up for herself, you feel now that you are imposed upon. How do we now empower you, sir, in your relationships to be able to say to your woman, this is how I feel, without having to go too hard, either with blows or with hurtful words to bring her down to size? You know what I mean? Tools. That's what counseling is. That's what therapy is.
Us with what we need to take us to the next step, and it helps us to unbox, to identify, to explore, to understand. So all the essentials to get us to the next phase. I know that we are getting close to the end of the program, Carrie, and so I have to ask you in a minute, what do you want to share with our listeners, those who may be experiencing hurt of any kind? It's this, we're still in the brand new month. We haven't gotten to the first week as yet. And so I know so many persons are still looking for ways how they can make their 2025 better than last year. For anyone who is processing hurt, what is your 1 minute advice to them?
God wants to heal you everywhere it hurts. Everywhere. He says, cast your cares upon me. Why? Because he cares for you. He cares for absolutely everything, even the things that nobody else knows. Those secrets that have been killing you on the inside, those things that you're carrying for people. Sometimes the burdens that you're carrying are not even yourself, not even yours, but you're carrying other people's burdens and them tearing you down and holding you down. Cast them on him. He wants to heal you. A lot of the issues that we find in our relationships with God are really heart issues. And until we are able to allow ourselves to be broken before him, he says that he is near to the brokenhearted. He's near to the brokenhearted. These light afflictions are working their way an eternal weight of glory, but you have to lay them down. His yoke is easy and his burden is light. So put down that pain in your neck and take on the burden of freedom. That's a contradictory term. Take on his freedom, his lightness, and be transformed by the renewal of your mind. You don't have to carry it anymore. I not feel. He died on the cross for all of it. It is for freedom that Christ has set you free, even freedom from pain, even the
Thank
deepest
you so
pain.
much, Carrie. Thank you so much. I absolutely solidify that, and I believe that freedom, that is the word I will take from this. For anyone who is experiencing hurt of any kind, I pray that 2025 they will experience freedom from that hurt. Thank you so much, Carrie, for being here with us. Thank you to our listeners. If you have questions of a personal nature or you're concerned about a family or a friend, remember you have Family Life Ministries with counseling available. And if you want to free yourself from your past hurt, Family Life Ministries can help with that. We have counselors available in Kingston and other parts of the island. You may contact our head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Please note that appointments must be made through the office. So you can contact our office at the numbers mentioned for costing and for appointment information. Otherwise, to keep up to date with everything else that's happening, be sure to tune in, stay tuned, stick and stay to our social media platforms on Facebook, and that is FLM-Family Life Ministries. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries-FLMJA, and follow us on Instagram at simply FLMJA. Before we leave today, we have a little reminder for you, and that is a Bible passage taken from the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verses 19 and 20. And it reads, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. He keeps all his bones, not one of them is broken." Amen. So join us again next week for another informative session. Thanks again to our very special guest, Carrie Heron. Thanks also to our show producer, Kathy Gale. And thanks to Derville Graham for piloting us through this hour. Of course, I am your host, Tamika Scott Walters, and looking forward to see you another time. Have a fantastic 2025.